It's all rather exciting. A few days ago, some new speakers came out. Yes, the Focals. And they are, let me get this right here so I don't mess it up. They are new three-way monitors, the Trio6 ST6. And they're not cheap, about $7,000. But what is interesting about these speakers is they arrived at the beginning of our masterclass. So we've been in the studio now for a few days. So typically I get these speakers out for the first time. Sometimes I've had them for an hour or two, just kind of listening. Well, this is different. We tracked using these speakers. There was masterclass members here, and I'm just going to say this up front. People bought the speakers. Focal would probably prefer it, hi Focal, if we just had them on their own and there wasn't other manufacturers of speakers and stuff. And I completely understand that. But I felt like this is a very unique opportunity to talk about speakers in situ that we have tracked and worked on and mixed on and have really got to know rather well. And especially in comparison with some other speakers, which we also love. These ATCs, for instance, are, I don't know, about $30,000 or something like that. So for the $7,000 that these are, they performed pretty darn well. I really, really enjoy these speakers. I have Trio 11s. The initial reaction from the guys in the studio here that also use Trio 11s, because there's other rooms here, is like they might prefer these. There's something special about them, and I know that they're a full redesign. Let's see what they say for the redesign. Well, first of all, they're part of the ST6 range. So there's the Solo 6 ST6s and the Twin 6 ST6s, which came out in 2022. They have a more detailed and transparent sound than their former model, which to me, frankly, just means the high mids are really, really tasty. They're very, well, they're not harsh. They're not harsh. If there's something that we've always loved about Focals, and particularly in our Trio 11s, was the fact that even with treatment, even in a room where we had corrected all of the speakers so they all read flat, Focal still had that very, very special high end that was never ever offensive and annoying to your ears, meaning you can work on Focals for long periods of times. So they have two focus mode configurations featuring reduced frequency response, a two-way and a single mid-range driver. Okay, so what does that mean? That means if you look over to the far right of this right-hand one there, what you can do is you can actually just listen to that on its own. I think in the Trio 11s, they often sort of called that, you know, like flipping over to a pair of NS10s. Did I use it? Once or twice? Once or twice. Honestly, it's a nice way to sort of hear what it would sound like on a cheaper speaker without the low end. It's a nice fun thing to do. I know a couple of people that have it on foot switches and do it down there and double check. Personally, I love these as full range monitors. In the information we were sent here, they did spend a long time sending these around. The R&D department sent them to a lot of different producers and engineers to really kind of work on these. If you've ever watched our Focal factory tour, we flew over to France, to Saint-Étienne and Bourbon-Lancy, and spent time there, quite a few days, seeing how they build these. If you know anything about Focal, it is very painstaking. There's a lot of time and energy, hard work that goes into making these. The first impression when I got in the room in the morning, they put them in, was we played back something I was used to. And I asked if there was a sub on them. I don't know how they do it. I have absolutely no idea. The low end on these things is absolutely ridiculous. If I go and be self-indulgent and listen to music that I recorded, which is important to me because I know this music and I know the room it was recorded in. Like I go to the end of How to Save a Life. I use this often because of the drums at the end is my old studio. And I know this room really well. I recorded in it for about 10 or 12 years. I love that. You can really hear the definition on the kick. I had 3 different mics on that, and you can hear them sort of all, depending on how hard Ben hits it, you hear them kind of triggering in and giving more or less low end. You hear the snare. Every hit is slightly different depending on how he hit it. You can hear the tuning go, ooh, ooh. It's beautiful, but most importantly, you hear front to back depth. That is a characteristic of Focal that is starting to become prevalent in a lot of modern monitors, where the detail on these beryllium tweeters is just ridiculous, meaning you hear reverb tails go off for ages. I'm not kidding you. We had 6 people at the masterclass, 2 of them bought the speakers. Pretty amazing. Really, really nice. So I'm going to listen to a couple other things that one of my favorite recordings ever, especially for a vocal, was as the Trevor Hall album, Chapter of the Forest. This is a big album for me. I really put a lot of love into this. Trevor is an incredibly talented musician, an independent artist that has, I don't know, last time I checked on Spotify, well over, I think, 1.5 million monthly listeners for an independent artist. We have a couple of songs on here with like 70 or 80 million streams. You know, for indie artists, that's pretty huge. And I spent a long time recording and mixing this specifically based around it being vocal-centric. He has a wonderful voice, and I really wanted to bring this out. There's quite a few songs on this that I really, really love. In fact, I love the whole album. It's our old studio in Laurel Canyon. Floor tom on Karshner's drum kit. I go to the Green Mountain State. U47. I go to the silence you make. Mixed through the SSL. Do you live inside, outside me? As you speak through 10,000 leaves. To me, when I mix a vocal, especially something like this, which is quite raw, it's an acoustic guitar, it's a single drum kit, the stand-up bass comes in a minute, I want the vocal to be like this. I want it to be like a ball of energy that I can just pick up. And I spent a long time making this vocal sound great. Through speakers, through headphones, through obsessiveness. It has always. I got in there, I got syllables, I pushed them up because I didn't want to overcompress the vocal at all. I wanted it to be even. I spent so much time on the detail on the vocal, and I'm hearing that effort that I put in. I cannot express to you how big the low end is for these speakers. How good is the low end, Eric?
Oh, it's low
insane.
and big.
It's insane how good it is, but it's not like excessive that unusable and would put me off using it. It's just ridiculous that it's coming from this. Now, these are both sitting on isoacoustics, so it's decoupled of the decoupling of the decouples. There is no issues going on there. And those roads, they run through big fields. I was talking to a speaker manufacturer today, actually, about this. I firmly believe what I'm about to say. There is so much good stuff at the low end. Like, it's getting ridiculous now at the $300 to $600 speakers, and they are really killing it. And at the very, very top end, like these ATCs here, the $30,000 end, like, it's pretty amazing. The bit that is really crowded, and I don't know where to go a lot of the time, is that sort of mid-price. Now, for many of you watching, you're thinking I'm crazy saying $6,000 or $7,000 is mid-price, but it is when you consider like mastering speakers and stuff like that at 30. And I was saying that, and I think there's a couple of exceptions, and I think these are one pair of exceptions. I don't get to keep these speakers. We're at Sweetwater, so Focal, if you ever want to send me a pair. Yeah, really. When you put a lot of love into a recording and you get to enjoy and hear the work that you did come back, it's great. It really is. Here's another Trevor song. So this is the album afterwards called Carla. Same drum kit, Kasha's 64 Ludwig Ringo kit.
Sunrise, breeze through the wind chimes. Open my eyes, it's the images rush my mind. Shine, oh baby, you're just in time. The waters in the kettle, the stars have just aligned. Yes, within the hour, oh, we'll see the power. Never knew this tree could bloom so many flowers. Yes, I water the roots as I listen.
I think quite often when I'm listening to speakers, I want to hear that depth. And with a track like this, which is, you know, live drums, stand-up bass, acoustic guitars, a banjo, I'm playing some electric on it as well, electric guitar, I want to hear all that space. And there is something very special about Focal's tweeters. When we were at the Focal factory, we did see the process in making these tweeters. And for those of you that know about metals like beryllium, which I didn't before I went there, they're incredibly dangerous. And the manufacture of them, the dust, and they're very, very heavily protected so they don't get destroyed because they are so light. We had somebody drop it and it just kind of goes flip, 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 like this. Like, it's almost lighter than air. Okay, let's listen to some really dense stuff. Now, we've done the front to back, and we've heard the reverb tails. They're unbelievable. You can hear them just decay away. You're really getting a lot of idea. Let's go a little bit crazier. So I'm going to find something, let's find something heavy. So here's a band, Black Rain, that I did with Jack Douglas. We recorded, the drums were recorded in Paris, I believe, but we did the bass and the guitars and the vocals, and then mixed it at the same studio on an SSL. So this is a lot more dense. It's kind of Motley Crue-ish in some ways. They probably hate me to say that, but it's kind of Motley Crue meets modern rock. Now, I remember when they came to master this, they wanted more low end, and they just cranked the bass. Like on the master, they just went in there about 80 to 100 hertz and did it. And I thought they went a little crazy on it. And I can definitely hear 2 dB too much of it. But that's a good thing. I can hear 2 dB too much of it. I can see where they overdid it on the master. And that was something recently I've noticed on speakers that I'm starting to really dig, is like when I know there's actually something wrong, if it's translating, then great. If I am listening to something that I have mixed that I subsequently found there was a problem, if I can't hear the problem anymore, then I'm a little worried. So we're going to listen to some Little Empire. God, we did this in 2015. This is going back a long time. This is very dense, with tons of guitars, tons of keys. And it's a girl singer as opposed to a guy, so it's going to give us a whole different view. So let's have a listen to this. Again, recorded and mixed at our Laurel Canyon studios, the original Spitfire.
Get out of here, turn around, spit your game at the ground. Ain't got no sympathy for liars. I can see through it now. You think that I'm blind, I'm not blind.
Hear the compression on the master bus pumping a little bit on that snare, remember that? So I like that I can hear that. Yeah, now that's a really good, interesting talking point. It wasn't as apparent when I was mixing. And now I'm hearing, and I can hear that kind of pump going on, where obviously there's a little excessive amount of low end that's coming in. The bus compression is hitting a little hard, and it's forcing the snare into the track a little bit too much, because the low end's coming in and the whole track is like pumping a little bit.
It hurts what's inside me. What happened to our paradise? Reinforced with promises, held strong by both of our dreams. How could we let our world come apart at the seams? We were a good one. Why did it have to fade? It's too late. How things change quickly.
Same thing. I'm hearing those choruses coming in. There's an excessive amount of lows on some of those guitars, and the bass and the kick is just merging a little bit, and I'm hearing that bus compression just... One of the things about speakers like this is I want to be able to hear that. But when you heard that Trevor Hall stuff, the depth in it was absolutely massive. When you heard the Black Rain, you could hear that little extra bump of low end, but it still didn't affect the mix in a negative way. So that's what great speakers are for. So here's our good friend, Mr. Steve Majura. Again, recorded at Spitfire. This is Karsh's 64 Ludwig.
As soon as your whiskey touched my lips, you set a fire to my song, and I'm gonna take it down to heaven.
Love hearing that. I always use the Avid plate. You can hear the plate.
Won't let go to never end merry, come and go round once more.
It's ridiculous how good the low end is between the kick and bass. I mean, these speakers are what, this big?
So take me down again, moaning, screaming, don't pretend. Wanna hear my name, the gritted teeth and the heavy breath. Just lose yourself with me and you, and tell me what you wanna do, and we'll dance along the
I love playing funk rhythm. I had a fun time working on this record. And you can hear I have my guitar over on the left there, and then the reverb tail over to the right. So guitar's sort of probably about 20% left, reverb on the right. Love it. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna say it for the third time. The masterclass that we did here, we tracked on these and rough mixed on these, and everybody loved them. They're pretty spectacular. Coming in with fresh ears on the first morning, I was really, really blown away. And here it's been the end of a long day and they're still sounding absolutely superb. There's something about Focal's top end which is really special. I don't know if it's the beryllium tweeter. I honestly don't know. I am no expert, but I can tell you it is not fatiguing and you can work on them for hours. So again, who do I think they're good for? Well, Luca, as I'm sure you know, mixes EDM and hip hop and pop R&B on them. So obviously they're good for that. For me, they seem to work really, really well with acoustic instruments, getting vocal detail on them. I can work on that. And they seem to work pretty darn well when it comes to stuff with a huge amount of low end. So I think it's covering all the bases. you know, no matter what your genre is, they should do a pretty darn amazing job. And in a world where, you know, we now have these incredible powered speakers that you just plug into the back of your interface or your monitor controller or whatever it is you use, your console. These are pretty darn good. Do I think $7,000 is cheap? No, they're not cheap speakers, but they could be as much as you'll ever need, depending on what you have at the moment. If you already know your speakers, like I wouldn't sell my Trio 11s to buy these, even though there's something about these that comes pretty close to Trio 11s. But if I had, you know, my $500 to $2,000 speaker, whatever it might be, by whatever company, including Focal, this is a massive upgrade. Because once again, I'll reiterate, we love the ATCs. They are incredible. These speakers I see in mastering studios all over the world. For the price, $7,000, pretty darn amazing. Thank you, Focal, for sending them out. Well, you sent them to Sweetwater. Thank you for letting us try them out. I suppose Sweetwater let us try them out as well. No, this is absolutely superb. I've really enjoyed working on these over the last few days. So thanks, Focal. Thanks, everybody, for watching. If you've got an opportunity to come to a place like Sweetwater, come and listen to them. Compare them to other speakers. I think that is where you're really going to know whether it's worth spending that extra cashola, that extra money to get something that I will perceive as a proper upgrade. Thanks, everyone. So long, farewell, la Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, goodbye.